Hello, my name is Angie Britsky. I'm a librarian at the Hollywood Branch Library. This afternoon's program is part of a series in partnership with SCORE to celebrate May's Small Business Month. All of these programs have been archived on our YouTube page and Facebook, so hopefully you'll check those out. SCORE is a nonprofit organization and a resource partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration. SCORE is the nation's largest network of volunteer and expert business mentors that are dedicated to helping small businesses get off the ground, grow, and achieve their goals. Since 1964, they have provided education and mentorship to more than 11 million entrepreneurs. So for today's program, it's Marketing Plan 101. Create your roadmap to success. So, are you overwhelmed by all the choices for marketing your business? Not sure where your time and money would be well spent? This workshop is for you. Without a plan, you could potentially waste thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours trying to grow your business. So let me introduce to you today's presenter, Patty Ross. Patty Ross of Golden State Marketing is a native Angelino and has over 20 years of experience in marketing. Patty has been in the online space since 1998, where she developed an e-commerce program for a gourmet gift company into $1 million business. In addition to helping small businesses overcome marketing overwhelm, she teaches marketing classes for various business organizations, community programs, and trade organizations. So please welcome Patty Ross.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate that. Let me get my slides ready here. There we go. Okay, one second. All right. Thank you very much. So I hope everybody's seen my Marketing Plan 101, Create Your Roadmap to Success. Just a brief history of this class. As mentioned, I do teach for SCORE, and I teach all types of marketing classes, social media, email marketing, all the fun stuff, all the channels. But I realized that a lot of the businesses that were attending didn't have a plan in place, didn't know where they should be, where their customers hang out. So I developed this program to kind of step back a few paces and encourage businesses to actually have a plan. So this is the result of that, and I hope everybody who's watching finds this useful.
Patty, you just have to share your slides. They're not showing right now.
Okay. So let me end the show here. Sorry, I thought we were sharing. One second. There we go. Okay, one quick second there. Okay, hold on. Gotta move them over here. Okay, must have unshared. Okay. And are you seeing them now?
Yes.
All righty. Okay, let me just play from start. And there we go. We'll start over. Didn't miss much here, just the opening slide. So again, welcome to Marketing Plan. You see those?
Oh no, they disappeared again.
Oh, how weird. Okay, I'm not sure what's going on. Let's see. That is strange because it worked in rehearsal. So let's see. Hold on, let me get back. It says share. And okay. Let's make sure it's on the screen and sharing. Let me try this one here. Sorry about that. I don't know. Are we seeing them now? Are you seeing them?
Oh, here we go. Here we are.
See it? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. Okay, sorry for the hiccup. Okay, back to Marketing Plan 101, Create Your Roadmap to Success. So glad you're still seeing the slides. See this one? Okay, yes. So great. Okay, we got it now. So yes, I am a Los Angeles native, born and raised here in the Venice area. I just actually moved back to the Los Angeles area last July, after being back up in the Bay Area and the Central Coast. As was mentioned, I did work for a gourmet gift basket company, my very first e-commerce job, way back when e-commerce started. Been in the wine industry off and on for 17 years now, but I do work with all types of businesses, including the wine industry, as you can see here, motorcycle, aromatherapy, political groups and finance, a little bit of everything, restaurant client. And I do teach 4 scores, Los Angeles County, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo County, where I just moved from. And I do work for Women's Business Center as well as a marketing consultant. Really proud to say I am currently the chapter president of the National Association of Women Business Owners here in Los Angeles. And I'm also co-chair of the Small Business Labor and Employment Committee for BizFed Los Angeles, which is an organization that advocates for small businesses here in the LA area. So that's a little bit more about me. So let's get on to the fun stuff, marketing, right? So the world of marketing, as you can see here, quite extensive. And I can see why people who are not marketing people get a little overwhelmed. You know, we have the traditional marketing avenues, TV, radio, billboards, newspaper, promotional products, print ads, all of that. And then, of course, the digital side of things, the newer side of things, social media and email marketing and retargeting and text marketing and Wi-Fi marketing, social media influencers, all of that. And you have your website, internet advertising. So with this overwhelming world, where do you go, right? What are you supposed to do? Where are you supposed to spend your money and time, right? And that's going to be different for everybody. And as Ben Franklin said, if you fail to plan, you're already planning to fail, right? So very important to have a plan. A lot of companies do this, right? You throw the spaghetti on the wall to see what sticks. That's not a really good marketing plan either. Or they do what we call in marketing spray and pray, right? You either shoot the bullets, fling the arrows, and hope for the bullseye, right? You hope to get in the yellow and the red. But as you can see here, a lot of times we wind up in the white, blue, or black. And all of those holes there represent time and money, right? Your time, your money, right? And it's thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours of time that you might be wasting if you don't have a plan in place, right? So, and what is marketing, right? Marketing, it's pretty simple when you think about it. It is a process that involves research and promoting and selling and distributing your products and services. But simply put, it's telling people what you do over and over and over again. It's a word you'll hear a lot with marketing: consistency, right? You don't just do it once a year and then you're done until you want to do it the next year, like your taxes, right? It's not your taxes. So you want to be consistent all year round with whatever your marketing efforts are. And some marketing myths, right? Only big companies can afford marketing. Sure, big companies can afford a bigger marketing budget, right? But everybody can afford some marketing. Might involve some sweat equity in there as well. And if the product or service is right, the customers will come. And if you're lucky, some products or services might get that, but not all of this. We don't have all that. We do have to put some effort into getting people telling about our product over and over and over again, right? And we save on marketing because our product sells itself. Well, if you're lucky enough, sure, you can hopefully sell itself, but that's not everybody. And downturns are a good time to cut marketing budgets. As we saw this last year, right? We had a major downturn these past, 14 months? And, I know a lot of businesses had to stop doing business, right? You had to couldn't do anything. And that might be, well, you can't really do marketing if you can't really do anything. But really, anytime you don't want to stop doing things when there's a downturn. Figure out where you can still do marketing if don't have a budget anymore. Stay in touch with your customers. Hopefully, we're coming out of this downturn, and we come out of it, springing hard. But remember, you always want to spend the money on marketing, because the marketing is going to bring you the money, not the other way around. Don't wait to get money to then do your marketing, right? Because the purposes of marketing is to bring you money. So don't do it backwards way. And then 5 reasons you need a marketing plan, So number 1, maximizes your marketing budget and return on investment, as I said, right? You're not going to throw the spaghetti up or spray and pray, and hope for the bullseye. Number 2, creates consistency, the magic word of the day, consistency. And then number 3, encourages deeper thought about your business and marketing. Very important, especially, during this pandemic and even before, we sometimes we'll start a business and we'll think that everybody's going to want this. Everybody's going to love this idea. And maybe not, maybe the way that you're doing it is wrong. So really looking at, starting over, if you're starting over or just revising things, put a marketing plan in place so that you really make sure you're on the right track with everything to do with your business, Unifies your team. If you have staff, you want to make sure you're all on the same page, right? You don't want to work in silos and one hand doesn't know what the other's doing as far as marketing. You don't have all the same branding and messaging and all of that. So definitely helps to have a plan to unify your team and, just in general for your business, right? And then improves your chances of actually accomplishing the marketing goals. So if you write them down and have a plan in place, you can actually execute on the plan rather than just kind of thinking about what you should do, right? So very important. And then this is my marketing strategy circle. So I typically have met when I teach classes, I typically meet you all in step 5, right? Channels, the fun stuff. You're already at, hey, I just need to get on Instagram, or I've been told I should go on Facebook, or start sending emails. But typically you wind up skipping steps 1 through 4. And that's what I mentioned in the intro when I said I developed this because as I was doing the channels classes, I realized that the businesses were not doing at least 1 through 3. Maybe they're the story, they had some messaging and branding going on, but not necessarily doing all that. What are their goals? Who are they really nailing down who their buyer personas are, who their audience really is, and doing that SWOT analysis we'll talk about. What's your unique selling proposition? Really nailing it down. So then by the time you get to step 5, where you should be in the channels, because all the other things will tell you that, right? And then also, of course, having a tactical plan in place, having all the other processes, budgets, and best practices, and then knowing how to measure and optimize based on those measurements. You have to do the analytics as well. You got to look under the hood. So we'll talk about each of these steps, and you'll get the slides as well. So you'll see all of this. There'll be some, say, slide handouts for you to print out and use for worksheets for hopefully building your own plan. So what are your business goals? All right, step 1, what are your business goals versus your marketing goals, and how are they different, right? So business goals tend to be, what's your sales growth, what deals, your market share, your reach, maybe the goals are also how big you're going to build the company, how many employees you're going to have, what are your sales, sales revenue goals. Marketing goals might be a little bit different. Obviously, there are also revenue goals as well, but you typically are looking at the measurables of like how many leads you're bringing in, how many prospects are engaged, what kind of coverage are you getting, what channels. So it's a little bit different, but they're definitely, of course, tied together, right? Once you know your business goals of like, hey, we need to make $1 million this year. How are we going to do that? Well, let's look to the marketing and what we want to achieve with the marketing. So they are tied together. So I encourage everybody to look at SMART goals. If you're not familiar with SMART goals, they're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based, right? So how do these work, right? So specific, you want to, obviously with specific, you want to be specific. So I can't get more specific than that. But you don't want to be as generic as I want to just generate more leads, right? Because that doesn't really give you a goal. I want to generate a greater number of qualified leads from our blog for our sales team. So you're being specific about where you're going to generate the goals, right? On the specific thing. That blog is the place to go so they can generate. So we have that focus, right? And then unmeasurable, what are you measuring, right? I want to grow the number of leads generated per month from our blog, right, by 20%. So you have a starting point here. We would say, okay, I want to grow. We want at least 20% growth on that. But also make sure they're attainable, right? So here we go. Since we generate around 100 leads per month from our blog right now, I want to grow the number of leads generated to 120. So there's your 20% growth, right? So we have a hard number. Seems pretty attainable. If they know they're going from 100 to 120, they're not going to go from 100 to 1,000. That's not very attainable. I always believe in, having pie in the sky, goals. For some things, but just keep in mind they're pie in the sky. In this case, you want to be very measurable because, your sales team would be, oh, we failed because we were supposed to get 990 more goals or followers than we did last month. So make sure it's very attainable. And you can always grow it from there, right? Next month, you can do 30%. And then make sure it is relevant, right? I want to grow the number of leads generated per month from our blog to 120 because our sales teams find that blog leads convert to customers at 3 times the rate of leads from other venues or other avenues, right? So it's very relevant. They've targeted down to their blog. They know what number they want to grow. And it makes sense. It's relevant because that's where they're finding the growth, right? So they've already done that work of research. Very important. And then time-based, right? I want to grow the number of leads generated per month from our blog because we find they convert, of course. So we know from time-based, we're going to grow it month per month. You can even do it like by the end of 2021, we need to have, 500 leads, and how do we break that down? So make it, again, attainable, time-based, with any goal, you want to make sure that it's achievable, that you're not always just chasing a goal down, right? So this is a sheet you'll get if you do download the slides, you'll get this sheet. You can kind of work out your own SMART goals here, or if you do get the slides, you can create your own on a piece of scratch paper. And then who are your customers, right? So step number 2 on the strategy circle, who are your customers? Everyone is not your customer, right? Are you fishing in the ocean or are fishing in a pond? And what I mean by that is, I've talked to many business owners and I say, well, who are your customers? Well, women. I'm like, okay, that's ocean. But we need to really start, are really all women your target audience? Maybe it's a certain age group. Maybe it's a certain geographic region. Maybe it's women, professional women, or mothers, So we need to start going from the ocean to the pond, right? So give you an example for my business, right? So marketing. I can fish in the ocean, right? You've seen from my bio, I've helped different types of businesses. So, an ocean of experience. But it's, if I want to narrow it down and say, I'm only going to help auto dealers or wineries, I've targeted it down to a specific niche, and then I can go after that particular market. If I fish in the ocean and say, well, I can help anybody and everybody with marketing, right? Then where do I start looking for leads? Where do I start going and saying, okay, who can I help? I get stuck because I'm like, okay, where do I go? So it's easier to catch the fish in the pond than catch it in the ocean. So you really need to start thinking about your buyer personas, right? And what are buyer personas? Basically, it's a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer based on market research and real data by your existing customers. So it could be, you develop, I'll show you some buyer personas. It could be that, it is semi-fictional, but if you already have customers, that's another place to dig for your personas, right? So here's an example of a buyer persona. And this is pretty extensive. So it goes beyond just, I make a product and it's for women who are 50 plus and they live in California and they're college educated and they're married. You could start with just some basic personal information, but you could really dig deeper into more of their professional information, their values and fears, what makes them tick, what are their goals they have in mind, where are they, where do they like to hang out, right? And are there any negative things? Are there customers you don't want, right? Too expensive to support, they don't have the budget. So really looking at this, and I'll give you an example. Talk to a business owner, and she's a personal, I guess you could say a personal organizer, kind of hard to describe her. And when I met her, I said, hey, describe 3 of your favorite customers. What are they? What do they do? And so as a personal organizer, she does different things. So one of her favorite customers was a family, a husband and wife, and they had young kids. And she helped them stay organized. They're busy parents and just organizing their household, keeping the kids organized. So she did work with the family. So there's one favorite customer. Another customer was she had an executive who owned homes in San Francisco and Los Angeles. And so when he was in Los Angeles, she would come and organize his house, help with some event planning, make sure he had whatever shopping he needed. So a little bit almost like a personal assistant. So that was another one. And then the third one she said was she does a lot of estate work. So families have a relative that's passed away. She's called in to organize the estate, maybe sell or get rid of the belongings, get the house ready for sale. So I asked her, I said, she likes these particular customers. She could get more of these, right? She could go after more estate planning, estate organizing. She could go after more families that have young kids or other busy executives. So these were kind of her built in, based on the current clients, her buyer personas. She does other types of things, but then now she can start targeting it down. So the busy family, so the family, young family, maybe the kids are between, newborn to 7. Married couple, it could be a single parent as well. Maybe they're highly educated, a higher income, because then they can afford to have somebody come in there and help them organize their life with their family. So you start narrowing it down. It might not be all families that are going to hire her, everybody who has a kid. So she can really start narrowing it down. Might be a little harder to narrow down the estate by demographic, but busy executives who are traveling and maybe need her help as well. So in this case, you can already start building buyer personas from existing customers rather than from scratch. So some examples. So here's a rescue group, animal rescue group. And they're looking for, there's different types of adopters, right? Not everybody adopts dogs and cats for the same reason, right? So here's one potential adopter that would come to a rescue group that they could target and market to. Might be different than me. So this is Bachelor Bryce, right? So he's a single guy. You could say he's age 30 to 50. He's located close to the shelter, within 60 miles of the shelter. It says he's single, successful individual, happy with life, but a little bit lonely. He's active, right? And he's just looking for a companion, maybe not a human one, but maybe he loves animals. Maybe it's time for him to get a dog and potentially help him by looking for a dog that he could be active with. Don't get pugs like I did. They're not very active. But there's another buyer persona, right? So how do we appeal to Bryce as the rescue group, right? So the things that he can do, his goals, he's looking for companionship. He's trying to stay fit and healthy. He loves animals, but he's not really sure about if pet ownership is for him. Doesn't know where to even begin on what type of dog. Again, should he get a pug or should he get a border collie, right? So how you can help him? How would you say market to him, right? So let me just move this out of the way. Sorry. Provide information on pet ownership, help him with matchmaking, give him ideas, send him information on the different types of dogs that would be good for an active lifestyle. So now, if it was me, say I'm a bachelorette and single and I have dogs, but I don't have an active lifestyle. I'm a busy business owner. I can go take dogs for a walk, but I'm not going to be jogging up mountains. I'm not going to be following Bryce. So maybe I want a dog that's better for apartment living, and it's not going to be required me to take them out for long walks and throwing balls for hours on end. So my buyer persona or adopter persona would be different than Bryce. So again, and how you would market to me would be different. Obviously, you would show us different dog selections. Maybe I'm familiar with dogs. I've already owned dogs in the past, and I'm just looking for a new companion. So these are the type of things you can look at with building buyer personas. Here's another one, a coffee shop marketing buyer persona, and they're targeting young students. So here's Sarah's student. She's going to school. She it says carefree college student. She's young. She lives in San Francisco. Her household income is $30,000. Of course, I'm joking. She probably has 8 roommates because $30,000 is not going to go very far in San Francisco. That'll be like a couple months rent there. So she probably has a lot of roommates that she needs to get away from and decompress. And she's looking for a place to hang out and decompress and maybe do her homework. So she's looking to maybe hang out at a place like this, right? So what are her, what does the coffee shop and what do they want to know about her in order to market to her, right? This is what she's looking for. So some examples. And here's wine buyers. I do talk to a lot of wineries. Obviously, there are different types of wine buyers, the image seekers, the everyday loyal, those would be like wine club members. The people who are brand new they're newly of age, or they just haven't really been into wine. They want to explore it, right? People who are price driven. So there are different types of people that you're going to market to. The person who's an everyday loyal is not going to be marketed to as, say, someone who's overwhelmed, right? They already know they already know you. They love you. They already know which wines they want. So completely almost 6 different marketing methods you would use for these different buyer personas. So again, here's just a breakdown of the different things that you want to consider under buyer personas. And if you want the slides, you'll see all of these as well. Demographics, responsibilities, their aspirations, frustrations, where they hang out, all that. and you will get a blank one to use as well for yourself. And you might have multiple buyer personas. Another example, and really think outside the box. I'll give you another example from an attendee that she made tennis gear, tennis accessories for women. I don't know what the tennis accessories were, but they're geared towards women. So she's saying, oh, okay, my target audience is women who play tennis, right? So makes sense, right? But when she went and looked at her customer database, she saw, weirdly enough, maybe not weirdly, that a lot of her buyers were men, specifically in the medical industry, that were purchasing. So potentially they had partners, wives, girlfriends, whatever, that were tennis players, and maybe they were tennis players and they're looking to buy them, maybe daughters or whatever that played tennis, and they were purchasing for them. So here's a whole different buyer persona that she can consider and market to. Not sure why it was just medical, but hey, maybe there's a way to target doctors, maybe that have daughters, or married, interested in tennis. So in addition to targeting her women who play tennis, she can also target people who they're interested in tennis and maybe have loved ones that play tennis. So it was interesting to see that, bringing that out when we're discussing it, that it wasn't exactly what you first thought. So, or only just what you first thought. So the sales process, the cycle generally is, you start with marketing, you're building brand awareness, right? And then hopefully building interest. They're evaluating, you do price comparison, you're doing your research on products, right? Making a decision to buy or not to buy. And then hopefully you've persuaded them and they've made the purchase. And then at that point, they're going to reevaluate. Do I need it? Did it meet my expectation? Do I need more of it? Do I want to try something different brand or whatever, different product or service, and then repurchase. So really this should be a circle rather than a pyramid, but pretty much once you down at the bottom of the pyramid, depending on your product or service, you're going to want to drop them back at the top of the funnel, right? Probably don't have to do the awareness part at that point. They already interested. So where down you want to get them back to the purchase, right? Get them past that decision to rebuy and purchase again. So keeping them in that life cycle. So starting from the top when they're new versus those customers who've already made that purchase with you and you want to keep them purchasing. So just keep this in mind with the sales process. And then SWOT analysis. If you haven't done SWOT for your business, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, there's also TOES analysis, which is a little bit different way of looking at it, but you can do either one. And basically what this will do for your entire business is just figure out what your company does well, what it doesn't do well, what the opportunities are to work around that, what your threats are, right? You can even take your weaknesses and turn them into opportunities, or threats into strengths, whatever. So that's kind of the TOES way of doing things. But for SWOT, just basically looking at what you're doing well, for strengths, what you're doing better than competitors, what are your internal resources and good, and what assets do you have if that's important. Weaknesses, what do you lack? What are your competitors doing better than you? What are your resource limitations? Maybe you don't have enough money, or you don't have a way to manufacture your product, whatever it is. You don't have a clear, unique selling proposition. That could be a weakness as well. You don't know what you're supposed to tell people about you. Opportunities could be looking at underserved markets. Maybe there's few competitors in your area that you can exploit. And maybe it's an emerging need for your product or service, right? Press media coverage could be that's an opportunity. Threats, right? Emerging competitors, regulatory changes. COVID was a huge threat, right? Still is in a way. Negative press or media coverage, and then just changing customer attitude towards your product or service, right? It might not need that. And that's happened with COVID, right? Some things maybe aren't needed as much as they were, or wanted as much as they were before, right? So just an example, here's a restaurant. I have a restaurant client. This almost could fit in a sense, pre-COVID and now. So their strengths, excellent, well-trafficked location. They have a great reputation in the community. They have great seasonal menu, locally sourced products. But the weakness is higher cost than comparable chain restaurants. They only have a single location. They don't really have that big of a budget. Most restaurants don't. Not currently using food delivery apps or technology for their business. That's definitely a problem this past year. What are their opportunities? They're growing interest in locally sourced ingredients. They have a good seasonal menu. Their potential for growth with food delivery apps, right? And then Threats, of course, COVID I put on here for this year, intensifying competition from established chain restaurants, uncertain economic environment, the cost of ingredients. So some of these are, I mean, it's really playing out now for restaurants, definitely uncertain economic environment. They've been mostly shuttered or partially only allowed to do pickups and deliveries. They're now just opening up. Cost of ingredients are going up. A lot of them can't find employees to fill spots, even if they're paying them well. So that's definitely still a pain point, but making sure that you're looking at all this. And again, this year has been an anomaly. Past year and a half has been an anomaly for restaurants. These are all ways, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to look at. This year just added an extra anvil to their problems, right? So really looking at all these helps you then develop and say, well, how can I get out of it? How can I turn those weaknesses into strengths or threats into opportunities, right? So really looking at that will help your business overall. And this is an example of, if you're doing the research, look at you and look at some competitors. If you have competitors in your field, what are your strengths compared to their strengths? What are your weaknesses compared to theirs? Pricing difference, what are they doing on social media? Are you killing it on social media and they're not? You go look at their feeds. Are they posting on a regular basis or at all? If you can tell if there's an onboarding experience, like how are they treating their customer experience versus you? Whatever you can measure, whatever, it's not going to be easy to measure everything with your competitors, whatever you can dig and find, that would be important measurable things against your competitors. And so then you can see what your opportunities are based on that. So here's a little, you can break it on a piece of paper or use a slide if you download them, and you can play with your SWOT. And so unique selling proposition, very important as well. Like, who are you and what do you do and why are you doing it, right? Why should we even care, right? Who cares? So you basically, with your unique selling proposition, we call this the winning zone, the green zone. It's in between the losing zone. Your competitor meets your consumer needs better than you will ever do, right? You can't bypass. I've tried, like, you're going to open up a coffee shop next to a Starbucks, right? It might be a little challenging, so is it risky, right? Competitive battleground. So yeah, are you being innovative? What's your execution like? And then that who cares, right? Does anybody want this product? Do they care about it? So really figuring out what your brand does well, what the consumer wants, what your competitor does well, and kind of get into that winning zone, right? So here's some examples. So Bombas, if you're familiar with Bombas, they do socks, right? I think t-shirts now as well. They start off with socks, and their unique selling proposition is, for every pair of socks you buy, we're going to give away a pair, right? So it says here, as always, one purchase equals one donated. So that's their story, causal marketing, right? So you might not care about that. You're just looking for socks. There's a million socks out there, right? I'm sure just as pretty and technology as the socks. I don't know what they do. I don't know what if they're tech socks or not, or just pretty tie-dyed socks. They have a lot of socks, right? But they're, I can go buy a 10-pack of socks at Target, right? So why would I want to buy these? Why would I care? So they're going after the market that cares about causal marketing, that, hey, I'm doing good. If I buy a pair of socks or 4-pack of socks, I know that 4 pair of socks are going to somebody in need. Not for everybody, but this is their unique selling proposition. They're not selling anything unique. It's just the way that they're doing it is unique, right? So this is a lot. I'm not going to go over all of these. Hopefully you're able to, watch the video or download the slides if you do get the link. But these are just some, your unique selling proposition checklist. How are you different from the competitors? What additional services do you buy? What niche are you in? What physical product need? What physical needs do you meet? Go break these down, and that's going to help you get to that unique selling proposition, right? So I won't go into these. We'll have them on the list to look at later. Here's some more, but these are all things you should consider when developing your unique selling proposition. Right. So here's some examples, right? So number one is package shipping industry. I have to get this package delivered quickly. So when absolutely positively has to be there overnight, used to be, I don't think FedEx has it anymore, but because it was only an overnight service, that was their unique selling proposition, right? We're going to get it there overnight, compared to all the competitors at that time when it was, I think, just USPS and UPS. And UPS didn't, I don't know if they offered next day air at that time, but they were going to do it faster and better than everybody else, right? So quick service food industry, mom and dad need pizza. They're too tired to cook. Pizza delivered in 30 minutes or free, right? So Domino's Pizza, again, I'm not sure if they still offer that deal, but that was their unique selling proposition. You can get pizza from the, Italian restaurant down the street, but will they get it there in 30 minutes and guarantee it's free if it's not, right? So that was a unique selling proposition. Of course, people with dandruff, they go after Head and Shoulders, healthy, beautiful, dandruff-free hair. That's kind of a unique selling proposition for the product because it was targeted towards people with dandruff, right? Long waiting times to see a doctor or dentist. We guarantee that you'll be seen in less than 15 minutes or your consultation will be free. So that's, again, a unique selling proposition among all the other doctors and dentists that you see. Of course, hopefully they're on your insurance plan too, right? So definitely think about your unique selling proposition and what your story is before you go out there and figure out what your channels and what your branding is and everything. You really do have to craft that unique selling proposition. It's not like we have great customer service. To give you an example, the wine industry, I've been in it for, as you saw, 17 years now. And in California alone, there's 5,000 wineries almost. In San Luis Obispo County that is moved from, there's 250 wineries. In Napa, 400 wineries. So Sonoma, just across the road, is another 400 wineries. So what do? That's unique in the world to have that many direct competitors literally in your backyard, literally like down the street. My winery client, Paso Robles, you can walk down their driveway and walk across the 2-lane road and hit another winery. Walk down about a quarter mile, hit another winery. So there's no other industry where you have that many. And there's another dozen or so that I could really just walk to. Forget the ones I could drive to. So why would I go to their winery versus the other 200 plus wineries that are in walking, spitting, short driving distance? What makes them unique, right? So that what's their story? You can't say, well, we have great wine or we have great tasting room staff or, it's like, what can you offer that's unique to them? So that's a big one for wineries to think about. So what's your story? The next one on the channel is your messaging. This is before you get to the fun stuff, right? The channels. What's your story? What's your branding? Why do you need a brand story, right? A brand story sets you apart, right? Without when you're just another business or commodity. And when people know your story, they care about and connect you. It's all about know, like, and trust when it comes to marketing, right? We connect with people. We don't necessarily connect with things. We buy things, but we really, and some things, okay, I don't need to know the story behind the, can of deodorant I buy. Okay, but for the most part, when we're doing our businesses, I want people to connect with me. I want you to know who the story behind my marketing business, right? You like me, you trust me, you look at my experience. You're not looking at, oh, I'm a logo, right? Or what I've done in the past. So really you need to have a clear brand story. It needs to be consistent across all of the platforms that you offer. And everything you do, crafts your story. So whether it's your website, your social media, if you have marketing materials, your brochures, your business cards, whatever it is that you're going to hand to your customers or have them look at, you want to make sure you're telling your story and consistent, because confusion definitely leads to not purchasing, right? So you don't want to have brand confusion out there. So what are you doing with your branding to tell your story, right? Very important. Are you telling the right story? So this is an example. This is Janet. I know her personally. She's a lovely lady. She's a life coach and up in San Luis Obispo. So our colleague, Gina from Janichi Studios, she does branding photography for businesses, for either personal branding or business branding. She, we met in a networking group and she met Janet and she was using this, a headshot, perfectly lovely. It was probably a little bit older headshot that she was using. And that's what she offered. It's like, oh, here I am, right? But Gina said, is it really telling the story of who you are to your target audience, right? So here's Janet's after she zhuzhed her up a little bit. But she wanted her to appeal to her target audience, people that would be looking for a life coach, right? So in addition to the headshot, she took some additional photos of showing her as compassionate and heartfelt and sitting in the chair, like as if I can just hop in the chair next to her, in front of her, and tell her all my life problems, right? And have her coach me. So this tells a little bit more about who Janet is and who she's trying to relate to, right? More of a story than a headshot. Here's another client of Gina's, Marcy Jean. She's a hair and skin specialist. And as you can see, she's selling professional, but she's also wanted to sell playful. So you can see from her clothing and her style, she looks like she's kind of fun and likes to dress fun. So she's very professional when it comes to taking care of her clients, but she also wanted her personality to shine through. So this was important for her to have that. Here's a business that Gina worked with up in SLO County. It's East Wellbeing and Tea. They do massage and body services and have tea, right? So very Zen experience. They're selling calm, right? So they wanted to show, here you're coming here to get some great body treatments. You can come have some tea. You can sit here and sip your tea at the nice little sofa. So it's definitely came across as like, this is what we're selling, right? Very clear. And this is Vinny. He's a real estate broker up in SLO County, another client of Gina's. And he's not just selling a home, he's selling a lifestyle. So real estate brokers typically will, have the picture of them holding up the keys or the open house sign. But Vinny wanted to show, like up in Pismo Beach, where he's a broker, that you're also buying into the fact that there's hundreds of wineries in your backyard, or you can sit on the hotel balcony overlooking the gorgeous Pacific Ocean, eating a gourmet meal. This is what you're going to buy, right? You're not just buying that home. You're buying this lifestyle. So he wanted those pictures for him to use for his marketing purposes to reflect that, right? It's telling a story. So here's one of my clients. This is Gina also did the branding for my client. They didn't have any pictures. They had old pictures of their owners and nothing really of the winery, nothing to tell their story. Like, who are they out of all the 200 plus wineries in Paso, right? So Gina came in, this is about 4 years ago this month. They had a 10th anniversary party and she took pictures for that. And then I had her come back and take, stock pictures of different things, right? We want to tell their story. So of course we want to show the details, right? They're a winery. So we're going to show grapes and vineyards and glasses of wine and bottles. And they're also a distillery. So we have cocktails as well, right? So we share all that. Had her take product shots so we can have shots for marketing purposes. And then sharing the benefits. What's going to happen when you go there? Like Vinny, right? What's going to happen when you move up to Pismo Beach? If you come to this winery, post-pandemic, you'll have music there that you can hang out. There's food, it's fun. You want to hang out here and come in here with your friends, right? Again, sharing the feeling. Now, the tuxedoed crooner is usually not at the tasting room. That was for their party. So it's just people having a good time hanging out at their party or at the winery on a daily basis, right? And here's more of the people having a good time, right? The winery. And then here's the people. Here's the owners at the bottom, Cheryl and Randy, the tasting room manager in the upper right. These are the people behind the story, right? These are why people come out of the 200 plus wineries. Yes, they have a lot of great wine. I'm not biased because they're my client. They do have good wine. So do a lot of the other wineries in their backyard. But people come back because of the people, right? They love Randy and Cheryl. They love Tiffany and the other staff. They come back because they relate to people, not just the thing, right? The wine. And then once you have photos and potentially videos as well, you now can create your marketing materials, right? Most important, you want to have great marketing materials that's consistent for their brand, right? Shows all their products, shows their business, their people, tells their story, right? So that's important with the branding. And, here's an example, a couple of big brands. What do these convey to the world, right? So typically if I was in front of a live audience, I'd have you all raise your hand and tell me, but generally, with both of them, right? They're both huge brands, but what that big C word, right? Consistency. Whether you go to an Apple store, down the street from me here or one in Paris, France, you're going to have a pretty consistent experience. Of course, the products are the same. The stores might be different color polo shirts on the employees, different languages spoken, but generally you're going to go into an Apple store and have that same branding experience. Same with Starbucks. You can go to a Starbucks in Peoria, Illinois, or in Hong Kong. right? Drinks might be slightly different, language is different, but drinks, relatively the same. They might vary slightly by region, but pretty much you go into Starbucks, you're going to have a fairly consistent experience, right? We're not these big brands. I don't think anybody listening here is probably as big a brand as Apple or Starbucks, but you can learn from them. And that's that consistency across even your one location or one business. It's all about that consistency and messaging around that. There's no confusion what Apple does or sells. There's no confusion what Starbucks does or sells and what their experience is going to be like anywhere in the world, right? So telling your story, another thing to do is keeping it simple. Can you tell your story in 4 words, right? We'll start there, right? So here's some examples. Square, everybody's familiar with Square, and swipe your credit card to take purchases. Run your business anywhere, right? Pretty simple. Tinder, right, is a dating app. It's how people meet. Now, it might be pretty basic, but it's generally how people meet, right? And you try this at home, folks. What's your 4-word story? Try your 10-word story or your 25. Maybe start at 25 and work your way down. 4-word story might be extreme, hard to really tell what you do, but really think about this because that really is going to help you craft your message. I've been in networking groups, and there was one group I was in that every single person at the luncheon was able to stand up and give a 30-second story about themselves. And I went every month and I would listen to the same women. It was a women's group over and over and over again. And I would sit and listen intently. And I'm like, I still don't know what they do, really. I don't know who they serve, what it is that they exactly do. Because they weren't crafting their message, whether it's 30 seconds or 25 words, really hone in on what you do. So this is the most important step. Now, I say this with a caveat. I always say, if you look at my strategy circle and you skip steps 1 through 4, and you're just like, I don't want to deal with USP and SWOT and all of that stuff. I just need to get out there and do Instagram. I hope you don't skip it. I hope you do take the time to build out a marketing plan. But this is one step here I'm going to show you is one place that helps take away that marketing overwhelm. It is planning, so it is part of the marketing plan. But this one step, I always share this in all of my classes because I find this is where everybody gets stuck. They don't know what to post on social media. They don't know what to send, put in email. They're like, I don't know. We only have 1 promotion a month, or I don't want to overwhelm or annoy people. So they don't just do it. They just don't know what to do. So this one step, if you get it down on a content calendar, this will help. So I'm going to show you my content calendar. If you're able to download the link we're going to share with you, you'll get a download to my calendar. It's a simple Excel file. I don't use any fancy software. Keep it simple. I'm going to show you what it looks like so you know how to use it. And hopefully this will take away the overwhelm, or use your own calendar, but follow these steps and you'll hopefully help you be more consistent with your marketing. So my calendar will have all the traditional holidays and non-traditional. And by non-traditional, there's nationaldaycalendar.com, and they have all the fun stuff like, National Hot Dog Day or National Bring Your Kitten to Work Day. Yesterday was National Wine Day. So there's a lot of fun holidays that you might work for your business. So you can include those as well. But you'll have all the traditional Christmas, New Year's, all that stuff. And then you want to include any seasonal promotional opportunities. And like Black Friday, if you're an accountant, tax season would be your promotional opportunity, like December through April or March, right? Hashtag days, right? Hashtags are very important. And you'll have hashtag days like Wine Wednesday or Fitness Friday, Foodie Friday, Motivation Monday. There's a lot of them out there, right? And then you want to plug in all of your events if you do events on site, off-site, or virtual. And then, of course, by doing this, this will help sync your email and social media campaigns, right? Once you get on a calendar. So my calendar or my Excel file is going to have a page, a tab. I put all of the hashtag days, the generic ones. It won't have if you're for a specific industry on here. But for the most part, all of them are broken down by each day of the week. You can plug those into your calendar. You'll also have a tab that shows content ideas. The one on the left, the right is just an extra page for the slide to give you some additional ideas. but it'll give you some topic ideas. You can ask questions, put up motivational quotes. You can do fun facts, a lot of different things you can do as far as content, in addition to your own content, just helping you build that content out. And then I mentioned nationaldaycalendar.com. What I did on my calendar is I went and put a tab and I copy and pasted all of those National Day Calendar holidays onto tabs, so you can easily go find a holiday and copy and paste it onto your calendar. So for example, this is April. So if I say April 5th, it's National Deep Dish Pizza Day. I want to, as a winery, say we want to talk about deep dish pizza. So I'm going to put that on my calendar. So you have those there already if you use mine. If not, you can just go to National Day Calendar and drag them in yourself. So this is a calendar. It's color coded. Again, it's Excel file, easy to use. Red-ish is holidays, orange is email campaigns, green are events, blog posts are baby blue, and dark blue is social posts. So you just start plugging things in here. So this is just a skeleton of it. So we'll start with social media. You can put in hashtag days. This is a winery's example. So, we're going to use Wine Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday, Foodie Friday, Tastier Tuesday. We're going to do on Saturday the 14th, we're going to ask a question, right? So we'll figure out the question, but when we're going to do an ask a question, that helps build engagement, right? 23rd, we're going to put up an inspirational quote. We're going to do social media for Thanksgiving and Veterans Day and Black Friday and all that. So Merlot, International Merlot Day, and there's Wine Tourism Day on the same day, National Donut Day, because of course you pair wine and donuts, right? So lots of opportunities for posts. So we're just put those on the skeleton, right, of the calendar. You still have to create the content, but at least now I have things that I could potentially talk about. So you can also then plug in emails that you're sending out. Of course, put the events in so that you can actually do posts and emails around the events. But with social, so what I do from here, once I lay out here, okay, here's all the hashtag days I'm going to do, or asking questions, whatever. Now I have to figure out what I'm going to do. So I drop a line, like you'll see on Wednesday the 18th, Wine Wednesday. I'm going to do a Merlot tasting video for that day. It might just be like, here's a picture of our Merlot. But in this case, I'm doing a video. So I'll drop a line and I'll put Merlot tasting video. So I know to plan for that. I might already have the content. I might have to create it. Maybe Foodie Friday the 6th, I'm going to do a Merlot and a hamburger pairing. And on the 13th, I'm going to do a Chardonnay and chicken fettuccine Alfredo pairing. So I'm going to put those on there to, again, bookmark them so I know what content to create around them. And this also is for archival purposes. So when you're looking at the calendar, like you can look back and go, oh, November, we already did the chicken and Chardonnay pairing on that Foodie Friday. So I'm not going to repeat it. So important to, fill out this calendar as much as possible. And once you do, and there are tools to use to create easy to create content as well. Canva.com, Canva.com is a great tool to create this content, or hire somebody to create the content for you. But this will help take over the overwhelm, because now you can see, oh, I have a whole calendar full of stuff in addition to your own, promoting your own products and doing whatever you want to do. There's a lot of additional content that you can create. So just getting it on the calendar will help you get over that overwhelm. I guarantee it. And I recommend that we're smack in the middle of the year. Typically my new calendar comes out around October. I do a brand new calendar. If you're on my mailing list, you'll get the calendar every year. Use whatever calendar. But I recommend thinking about this in October. And I usually work with my clients and have it done for the following year in November, December, hopefully before even November ends. And the reason for that is if you wait till January, typically after the busy holiday season, we're all in kind of a holiday coma, by the time we get out of it and we think about the new year, it's already Valentine's Day. So really get it honed in as much as you can, even if you plan 3 months out, 6 months out, get as much as you can put on the calendar so that you're ready to go before the end of December for January, because you don't want to lose that momentum at all for January. So hopefully that explains everything with the calendar. It is pretty easy to use. Use a calendar, mine or your own. Use a fancy tool, just use a calendar, get that content written down. And as you can see, once you do that, you can coordinate your social media and email campaigns easier, right? So the step 6, right? Tactics. How will your strategy be implemented? Can you do it all? Do you need a team? Do you hire outside? What tools do you need? You got to figure out those tactics. Budget. I don't deal with, but I don't help with people do budget unless they're my client, but it's an important step knowing, what are you going to spend? So I don't have an Excel file. This is just an example offline. I have the calendar, but I don't have a budget tool. But these are the type of things that you're going to look at. Once you figured out your buyer personas, which channels are right for you, all of that, then you're going to know where you're going to need to go. Like, yes, we're going to do newspaper ads because that makes sense for our business. We're going to do webinars, press releases, internet advertising. I need to hire somebody to do social media. So you're just plugging in all those hard numbers to see what budget do you actually need to spend, right? So, and what are the marketing expenses? The direct selling costs, advertising, as I mentioned, the sales promotions, print, direct mail, electronic, PR, marketing administration. Do you have somebody in-house or you're hiring an agency to do your marketing? What are those costs? Indirect costs, any training, subscriptions, marketing tools that you need to pay for, like Canva, getting all of those marketing expenses down. So, okay, how much do we need to make in order to afford the marketing, right? You afford the marketing, you make more money. That's hopefully the goal, is you're going to make money from your marketing. So all these steps you need to think about. And measuring, as I mentioned, you have to measure and optimize, right? So you look at under the hood, look at all your Google Analytics and website and social analytics, and saying what's working and what's not, and what do you need to adjust, right? If you don't adjust, right, you don't know where your money and your time is going, or if things are working, you're just going to be, again, the spaghetti and the bullseye, right? So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you are always measuring and optimizing and looking under that hood. And key metrics that you're going to be looking at: how many downloads and views, number of prospects, number of deals, conversion, right? That shouldn't be conversation. It says conversation rates, conversion rates. How many leads were generated? How many followers do we have on social media? There's a lot of things you want to measure. Email marketing, definitely the number of subscribers you have, your open and click-through rates, your conversion as well. Do people open your emails and actually buy or do whatever you want them to do, right? So all of these need to be tracked, and it's all important information. It's hard to do marketing if you're not looking at the metrics. You need to have a marketing person that knows that they should be looking at the metrics and how to. I'm one of those freak marketing people that will actually really love looking at metrics and executing on them. So any marketing person worth their salt really should also know how to do the metrics as well, not just be the person who knows how to post on Instagram and create a beautiful feed, right? They have to know why and is it working, right? So what do you need to create a marketing plan, right? And imagine if your business, if you had a marketing plan in place, what that would look like. And again, as I mentioned, are you budgeting for marketing or waiting to make money to have a marketing budget? Really should be look at what you can do in any small way, whatever you can afford or do yourself, and make that work. Make sure you do. And what support do you need to create a marketing plan, right? So if you do need help with it, definitely set up some time to talk to me. I have a 30-minute discovery call. You just go to callwithpatty.com. No obligation to do anything with me. I'm happy to answer questions and guide you. I definitely can help you create a marketing plan as well, or guide you on how to create one. But hopefully these steps that I created for you today guide you to that marketing plan. So thank you for listening, and I hope this was helpful, and I will pass it back. Thank you.
Wow, Patty, thank you so much. That was amazingly thorough. So we do have some folks that are tuned in. I'm not sure if they have questions, but folks that are listening to the presentation, if you have any questions, please just write them in the chat and we can get to those. As well as Patty put her entire presentation in the chat as a link, so feel free to click on that. And if you have further questions, definitely contact Patty. And you can also contact LAPL's Lifelong Learning Department. And that email is lifelonglearning@lapl.org. All right, so I'll see if we have any questions. All right, so far none, but I mean, that was so thorough, Patty.
This one is, like I mentioned before, this one I don't usually get questions on it because it says basically you need to do it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of complication to it. It's basically follow those particular steps. And again, it will, and for me as a marketing person, it's hard. And I hate hearing when people are overwhelmed by their marketing, but if it's not your wheelhouse, like don't hire me to do accounting. I don't want to do numbers. You just don't, trust me. But there are people who love numbers, and that's their wheelhouse. So if it's not something that's in your wheelhouse, you're not going to want to do it, and it's going to be a struggle. But even if you have to do it yourself, these little steps will help. Just like the content calendar, and just really having a sense of like what your marketing is. And I know, I love when people do have the overwhelm taken away. And even sometimes this is doing the content calendar. So at least try that, I recommend. So.
Yeah, all of it. You had such great tips, like the branding, the calendar. Yeah, it's great. I loved your friends, the pre and post, her whole image change. That was great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. And then do you want to pull up that slide one more time for folks to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so it's actually put it in the chat. I think, I don't know if it says private chat, but callwithpatty.com, and that will take you to my calendar, and you can schedule a time to talk 30 minutes for free. Like I said, no obligation to do anything. I can answer questions, guide you on to give you resources. So love to help you out. I do have a marketing plan boot camp if you want to actually go through the whole marketing plan in 6 classes, and it'll help you actually go through all of those steps if you're interested. So yes, thank you very much for having me speak. I hope it was useful for anybody listening.
It was wonderful. Thanks again. Take care, everyone that tuned in.
Thank you.